are $5 for a bag. The DVDs are $5 for a bag. Please come, we'll build a library. Downtown Coquille, I've walked down there several times recently, and there are birds living in the eaves and everywhere downtown. You walk down the sidewalk, you got to watch out what your shoes get into, because it's a mess in some places. And I think we should clean the mess up. It doesn't look very nice. And also, the gutters running down Central Street are full of weeds. And I think we should clean those up also. There are other things in my mind, but that's the way my mind goes. So we'll pass on. Next.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pinkston. Councillor Neiswanger?
No comment.
Councillor Parker?
No comment.
Councillor Wirebaugh?
Had a wonderful 4th. I'm excited to see all the construction that's going on in Coquille right now between 2nd Street starting underway, First Community Credit Union being built, and I believe Coquille Tires even getting their thing going too out there outside of Coquille. So Coquille's growing. It's exciting to see.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Rao?
I just want to thank everybody who's watching on Facebook and participating in their government. And it's clear the coronavirus is spreading in the Coquille community. And so I just urge everybody to be safe, be cautious, and listen to the directives from the Oregon Health Authority. That is all.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, moving on to staff reports. Chief Sanders? Is he not with us?
I recently heard sirens going downtown.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was Justin's crew.
Can anyone hear?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can anyone hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you. You're there.
Yeah, I'm here. I was just sort of getting talked over there.
Oh. Okay.
So nothing to report, but I'll take any questions.
Okay, Chief Sanders, a while back ago, we had discussed the parking here on First Street, that parallel parking.
Yes.
Parallel, right, vertical. Anyway, I thought we were going to get Dyer Engineering to slant those lines a little different, and I thought the council had voted for you to go ahead with that. And there was another accident here on Saturday. So do you know the status of what's happening on that?
Mayor, that's not my project. My project is the Public Safety Committee, and we brought all the options that we could come up with to the council, and the council voted on, yes, looking into doing something with that. But I think that's as far as I go with that project. It's just what the Public Safety Committee comes up with.
Okay.
We give our recommendations, and then the council votes, and then maybe Haley, maybe Sam, someone looks into that or talks to Dyer Engineering.
Okay, so Sam, I'll redirect that to you then. Any word on that yet?
I thought last time we were waiting for the official word from the safety committee. You guys said you were going to meet.
We did.
Okay.
We did.
And I remember it coming before council.
Yes,
And we voted to have Dyer redo the lines. I believe I see Dave shaking his head, if I remember correctly. But we've never gotten past that point.
This is Haley. If I could interrupt, I hadn't heard about this, but if you would just give me a little bit of time, I'll talk to Steve Major and talk to Sam and sort of figure out what's going on with this and get back to you. The striping for parking shouldn't really be something that needs to be engineered, and we'll have some standards for that. So let me look at the notes and sort of get into this, if that's okay.
Oh, that's great. I was just, like I said, there was another accident, and I know for sure we approved it.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard anything about this one yet, but but I'll do some research and figure out, get my head around it.
Yeah, I think it was at the time, around the time when Sam was just coming on board and you were just coming in. So it's, it doesn't surprise me that we didn't pursue it. Shame on the council and myself as well for not following up on it sooner.
Well, and you never know. I may have heard about it, but then not really understood what it was. It's been a lot of transition, so you never know.
Haley,
We'll put that back on our list to start doing. Dave?
Yes.
Okay.
Dave Chappelle has a question.
Can I say
Dave?
something? Can I say something, Mayor?
Yes, of course.
I'm on the safety committee, and I think one thing we did talk about was exaggerating the lines to where instead of backing directly out into traffic, they're backing more out
On an angle.
in an angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the chief is still online, I think that we did talk about that. Chief, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. That's exactly it. And I can fill Haley in on either tomorrow, Wednesday or Thursday or something.
All right, perfect. Thank you. That was my only question that I had for the chief.
And I really don't think we need to have Dyer to re-engineer. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I kind of agree with Haley. That restriping those lines would probably be more in a line for the city to do as opposed to having that all re-engineered. So.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Anybody else have any questions for the chief? No? Okay, we'll move on then to Director Connor's report.
I have nothing to add to my report. I wish I could add something to the library world right now, but I can't. If anybody has any questions about what we're doing at the library or what's going on, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Director Connor? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Chief Farron. Chief Farron?
Hi. So I have a few things to add to my report. I think in my report, I had said something about Medic 1 going over to get the air conditioner worked on. Well, as soon as we got it back, we ran it on one call and had a few more issues with it. We had to replace a turbo and a radiator in it. So that's up and running. We're back up to 2 ambulances, have our third one getting worked on as well. So that's getting done. Coquille Fire Department responded to a barn fire yesterday morning out on Old Beaver Hill Road. The barn was a total loss. They lost a few pieces of equipment in the car in the fire. The cause of the fire was undetermined. Sam Flaherty released a video on Facebook today on an update for our fundraiser that we're doing for the Volunteer Association. We're at $6,800 raised so far. So just over that, I think. So that's looking good. And then also I spoke to Randy Zinke today, who is our rep from Hughes Fire, who supplied our SCBAs. And he's working currently on a quote for me to get the this year's 5 additional SCBAs with 10 more bottles. And I also spoke with him a little bit about tender pricing and what they were selling tenders for. He said to plan on about $350,000 for a new tender. Hopefully we can get a grant, but right now they're 12 to 14 month build times. So that's something that we'll need to talk about in the future and seeing if there's some way we can fund it to get one going, because we're possibly not going to be able to keep running the same tenders we have currently. And if I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Chief, may I ask a question, please? If we get a new tender, is it going to fit in our fire building?
So if we spec one out, it's going to be tight no matter what. Our newest ambulance is only a few inches from hitting the top of the doors, but we also have to have the equipment to be able to respond to the fires. Our building is we're definitely outgrowing our building. So I know we've talked about that extensively in the past, but it's something that we're needing to look at pretty hard here in the next year.
Thank you. Counselors, any questions? All right, we'll move along to our finance department now. Rob, I guess you're joining us tonight.
I am. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. For those of you who I've not met, my name is Rob Moody. I'm a partner with Marina and Company in Tualatin and helping the city with its finance department in the interim until we are able to recruit and hire leadership for that department. A couple of things I just want to share with you. You've got my report in front of you. We had a chance to meet with the finance team last week. I was on site Wednesday and Thursday, had good meetings. We've got a lot of work to do, but the team seems to be committed to doing that work to increase the service levels both to the departments and to the council. We are implementing some new internal controls. We've implemented some controls already in terms of separation of duties. I've taken over reviewing and approving all journal entries, as well as reviewing and approving accounts payable before the checks are cut, just to provide that extra set of eyes and that extra insurance of accuracy and completeness. We have completed our review of the finance department in terms of skills and the service levels provided to the various departments of the city. We provided a draft report to the city manager for his review, along with our recommendations based on that report. We have begun with Sam's direction. We have begun to implement some of those changes and reassignment of responsibilities within the team, trying to manage workload, trying to allocate that workload in an efficient and effective way to make sure things get done, as well as we're not overloading one position versus the next. And working on training, working on making sure that the roles and responsibilities amongst the team are clear. Real quick, let me just kind of, a couple other things real quick. The audit, the 2018-19 audit, we're very near being able to wrap that up. We have provided, I've been working with the accountant from the firm there in Coos Bay. We posted all the journal entries, and we're working on the capital assets piece, which is the last major piece, in order to get that to the auditors so that they can wrap up the 18-19 audit. I've been in touch with the engagement partner for the independent audit firm, and we've put together a plan to try and complete the 19-20 audit in mid to late October this year. So we should be back on track and completing that audit without an extension this year, if assuming everything goes according to plan. But we have no indication that we shouldn't be able to hold to that at this point. I guess the big thing I want to share with the council is that the finance department is committed to providing you financial reports for the July, basically July beginning the new fiscal year, for your meeting in August. So you should expect to see those reports along with whatever comments or analysis come from my review of those reports for your acceptance or consideration at your meeting in August. So with that, I'd entertain any questions that you may have. Counselor, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. It just shows up Kyle W.
So after your meeting with the team, how long do you think you'll estimate on being there to establish leadership for local to fill that position? What's your guesstimate on that?
You know, we've drafted up some position descriptions for all the positions in the department, as well as one for what we're recommending as a support services director. And so we'll be looking at that position description a little bit more. I would expect that, and I haven't really talked through this with the city manager yet, but I would expect that we should be able to advertise that position and start doing some targeted recruiting, you know, early September.
Okay.
And depending on the qualifications of folks that we get and the interview process, it'll probably take 60 days to get somebody actually on board by the time we go through interviews, make an offer, and then they give appropriate notice wherever they're working. So
now, the way that you guys, Marina's handling it, is it going to be a whole retraining of the finance team in there? You're not going to go with how Coquille's always done their paperwork before, have you? Or
you know, there's some training kind of built into our program and our plan at this point. We are, you know, moving around, like I said, some duties. I'm aware of the direction from council and staff to try and bring payroll back in-house. So there'll be some training on how to do that correctly, appropriately within the Springbrook system. So we'll be working on that to make sure that people have the right resources and tools to do the job effectively. We're also proposing some policies and procedures to build that framework around how things should be done best practices wise, to try and give people that structure to be successful. And then we talked with the team a lot last week about accountability. And once those structures are in place and we have some leadership, you know, or we're working towards a leadership position, having that accountability to themselves, to the team, to the city, to the council, to the departments, everybody understands how important that is. And so making sure we have the tools and resources to have them be successful, that's a big part of that.
also, and my final thing too is you've probably seen that our financial software is pretty outdated and they've had their hurdles with that. Has your company made any recommendations on a better software choice or possibly updating what they have to make it more cohesive to get this done correctly, more efficiently?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, part of our recommendations in the draft report is to move forward with either an update of the current system to get it to a current level or a replacement, because the fact that you are so many versions behind is a bit of an obstacle for the team.
And Mr. Moody, do you have a preference from your background of going cloud-based with your financial software or keeping it off the cloud for a financial government?
You know, I work with clients who do both. The other two clients that I work with currently that have Springbrook are both in the cloud, and it seems to work very, very well. It's obviously nice for us as a consultant because we're able to be able to support you more easily from that perspective. But in terms of the city's operations, I don't know that it matters a whole bunch. I mean, we have like I said, we have clients who host their software on their servers in-house. It really depends on the quality of your IT services and having somebody on the team that is able to kind of manage and administer that information and that network and that service for you.
Okay. And if you had a lack of IT service, would you have a better direction of which direction you should point on those two softwares?
It's a tough question because again, one of our recommendations is that you continue to outsource your IT services because it's difficult in your community probably to recruit someone internally. And to be honest, it's probably more price effective to contract it out. We're recommending that the support services director position would manage and administer that contract so that you have a point of control that doesn't add to the city manager's span of control and allows him to focus on other things. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, it makes sense. I know where you're coming from. I appreciate your input on all this, Mr. Moody, and I'm glad that you're able to make it down and meet the team that you're working with.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks. Anybody else? All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Mhm.
We really appreciate it.
And I guess just in closing, I want to thank Sam and the department heads for being patient with us while we try and work through some of this stuff. I really want to appreciate the team in the finance department. They understand what needs to be done. They are committed to where we're going with this. And we hope to be able to show you some real positive change as we go forward. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to Sam, your report.
Actually, Haley still has a report to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Haley, I keep forgetting you. I am so sorry.
Well, you don't have to be sorry because I also forgot to file a written report in time for the packet, so I apologize to all of you. I will send you a written report later this week that has all the details of most of the projects that are going on in town. You can see a lot of them. But if you have any questions for me right now, go ahead and ask.
No, I just think you're doing a wonderful job. It's nice to see some movement going on in the community.
Haley, this is Matt Rao. I just had a quick question. I know you're new on the job, and I know this isn't because of you, but why are there still Christmas decorations on the community building?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't know that there were Christmas decorations on the community building, so I'm going to write that down, and I'll talk to Mike.
And then I was just going to add that Sam was very gracious and sent us an email following up on the castle situation at Sturdivant Park and how it can be salvaged. So I want to thank you and Sam for your efforts on that, the efforts you've made already and the efforts you're going to make in the future. But I'm very excited that that can be salvaged. So I'm looking forward to see what you guys do with that.
Thank you. And in my update that I will send you later this week, I've done a lot of work on figuring out where we are in some of the grants and projects that we had planned for the parks. And we're sort of going through that paperwork and figuring out exactly where we are. So we'll have a little bit of direction about where some of those projects are that were midstream when Kevin left.
Mm-hmm. Good idea. Good idea.
Anybody else have any questions for Haley? No? Okay, moving on now to Sam Ba.
You guys have my report of what I've been, what's been going on with the city. We do have, as per your guys' request on our last meeting, we went out for an RFP on Jefferson School. I have both Brian from NeighborWorks Umpqua and Jared from Jarrett Construction. They are in on this call, so we can ask them questions when we get to their group a little bit later. Do you guys have any questions on what I've put out to you guys as far as, or any additional questions from my report?
Sam, could you update me on the ComSpan franchise fee?
Sure. So ComSpan, we had went about 5 years without getting any franchise fees from ComSpan. When we finally talked with them, there was some transition in their finance department about the same time we were having some transition in ours. And they got behind on their franchise fees to the tune of about $26,000. They are going to make that good starting in September. August is the end of their fiscal year. However, ComSpan and Douglas Fastnet just barely merged in the last week. And they, from what I understand from Dave from ComSpan, he said that shouldn't affect our franchise fee payments, but that'll be once again in September.
Also, Sam, now that we're on Zoom meeting now, do you think that we'll continue to do these in the workshop as well?
I'm good with that. It's going to depend on how everybody else feels at the end of this meeting, but yeah.
Okay. Great. And that's
just a reminder, and I think this is what Kyle was working towards, is our next workshop on August 3rd, I believe, is going to be Elaine with Elaine Consulting, the URA consultant firm. So they are giving us a URA 101 tutorial.
great. That's all I have, Mr. Baugh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Baugh? Sam, I've had a couple of things come up. People have sent me some emails, and I got a couple of phone calls on the painting of the lines down Central Avenue.
So if I understand that correctly, the
Did
county...
you get some of those too, those emails?
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of emails on the lines down Central. If I understand it correctly, we are supposed to be working with the county because Central is partly the county's road. Is that correct?
No, they only go up to Fairview Road. Then we
Okay.
pick it up from there
Okay.
on Central Avenue.
Madam Mayor and Sam,
Yes.
I was going to say the dividing line is 10th Street. We have possession of it from 10th Street to Central, and then they have it from 10th Street to the other end of Central, which directly looks straight at the log pond.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if it was Fairview or 10th Street, but yeah. But so it's our responsibility, Sam. And last winter, it was really bad. It was hard to see when it was raining.
Right. Okay. Let me check in.
I can look into that, Sam.
Thanks, Haley.
Mayor, Sam and Haley, I was going to say, we do have an intergovernment, I don't know if it's a memorandum of understanding or an intergovernmental agreement with the county that they are responsible for half of the maintenance. So we can offset some of that striping and potentially contract it through the county road department. We just need to take it to the commissioners and get it approved in advance. If it's under $10,000, it could be directly approved by Commissioner Sweet. I just thought you might find that helpful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your input on that.
Okay.
Okay, and this is kind of frivolous, but maybe not. The planter that's out in front of City Hall, the plants are all dead. Is there any chance we could purchase some plants and make the front of our building look a little presentable?
I can ask about that. This is Haley again.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing to pull up there and everything is dead. I mean, I'm not talking about the stuff on the side, but just that green planter. I don't know why the garden club, I know they take care of all of our planters. I don't know why they're not maintaining that one. Maybe that's
Okay.
something I could run by them.
I'll just ask. I'll figure out who's in charge of those. Okay. And then, you know, Councillor Pinkston, you had mentioned some things at the very beginning of this call. Go ahead and email those to me as well. You talked about some gutters and whatnot, and I can look into those. Any of those public works types of questions, just go ahead and either email me or give me a call.
Anything else, Mayor?
No, I was done. Like I said, those were just little things, but I think you might have got the same emails on the striping of Central Avenue that I got, so.
Yep.
Okay,
Notes on all that. I'll follow up with you. Thank you.
thank you, Haley. Okay, consent calendar.
Madam Mayor, I just had two minor corrections to the synopsis on the consent calendar.
Yes,
The votes on the council appointment weren't taken in the workshop. That was in the meeting. And so that
Yes.
should probably be moved to its proper place. And just one brief correction on my council comments. I don't recall talking about virtual options for our schools. I was talking about that the superintendent had the goal of any kid whose parents want them in school at the start of the year. It's our goal to be able to accommodate them. Now, we are looking at virtual options and hybrid options, but I just wanted to correct that what I was talking about was not virtual options, but ensuring that any parent who wants their kid in school at the start of the year, the goal is to be able to accommodate them.
right. I think that other was in response to a question I had asked you if the virtual would be an option come the fall, but which you answered. I think the school district is doing a super job. Thank you. Thank you for putting your time in on that.
But besides those two little corrections, that's all I have.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar with those two corrections?
And make a motion to approve the consent calendar upon the two amendments made.
I'll second.
Okay, Julie, so I have a first and a second discussion. All those in favor? Say, this is going to be difficult. I guess we say aye, or do we do a show of hands, or?
Actually, what other cities have been doing is they, any dissenting votes, any opposed, is the only ones that they ask for. They assume everything else is a approval.
Okay. Are there any dissenting votes? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on, I'm going to open a public meeting now at 7:35 for the resolution amending the license permits and procedures book and adopting new water and sewer rates for the city of Coquille and new rates for purchasing city water from the fire hydrant and authorizing the rates and fees contained therein. Is there anybody from the public on Facebook that would like to speak up?
I have a couple of people that are putting a questions up there. Paul, yes, people are monitoring the chat. All right, let me scroll a bit back because we're getting. I'm specifically looking for questions about water at the moment.
Right.
There is just a slight delay, by the way. And so if anybody has public comment on the water, please type it into the comments on Facebook. Paul, you had stated you have some. I'm just. Question, are you trying to increase? And there is just a slight delay, by the way. Yes. Question, are we trying to increase the rate for the hydrant? I'm not quite sure what you mean by the hydrant, but if that's for water filling or tank filling, it is going to go, I don't believe that is, Haley, you know for sure, but I don't believe that is.
Yeah. So there's a, so the reason that we have to do, there's two resolutions that are showing up on the agenda, and one is for the water rates, and then one is for the hydrants, and the hydrants are connected to the water rate, so you have to do both of them at the same time, because if somebody wants to do, for example, a construction project, they fill out a form with Dane downstairs, and it converts the water rate like you would pay for your house into something for a project, so you can hook up to the meter, use the water to, you know, if you're putting down asphalt or something like that in your project, and then it tracks the amount of water that you're using, and then we charge you for that use of the hydrants. The two things are connected. Every time you raise the water rate, you're also going to have to affect the resolution for the water hydrant rate.
Okay, I have a large question here from Paul that I'm going to read. It says, Mayor, and says Planned Parenthood Council of Utah, council members, staff, and citizens. I stand opposed to passage of Resolution 7/2020. Resolution 7/2020 does not resolve the inequity experienced by building owners where a single meter serves multiple units. These building owners must pay multiple base rates regardless of occupancy or minimal usage. The inequity of the practice acts as a damper on downtown business development. This practice places an inequitable burden on business owners where a single meter serves multiple units. A 2010 letter from Mr. Slack to the city manager identifies that 45 commercial property owners with 192 offices are paying the equivalent of 116 residences based on usage. In other words, commercial property owners where a single meter serves multiple units are paying on average 2.5 times the rate of other users. This practice acts as a dampener on downtown business development. In 2003, Judy Costello, while working to get relief from this inequity, identified that the current billing practice does not encourage development in the downtown area. In 2009, the City Council recognized the detrimental effects this inequitable billing practice has on development in the downtown area. When the council granted the Abbott's temporary relief at the old town hall building, the solution offered by the city to Ms. Costello, Mr. Slack, and to me was to add meters to match the number of units. This solution is unreasonably costly. Adding a meter requires payment to the city of $623.59 for the meter and $45 per hour to pay installation charges and any system development charges. This amount pales in comparison to the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars needed to modify plumbing in the building to take advantage of the multiple meters. A lower cost and simpler solution exists. The city could simply charge for a single meter plus usage like it does anywhere else. A single meter exists. In the past, when this has been suggested, city staff and elected officials have rejected the proposal because of the negative impact doing so would have on revenues needed to maintain and upgrade the city's water and sewage systems. I recommend in January this year that a fair resolution of the multiple units on a single meter issue be included in the rate study and rate increases proposed for this year. Making assumptions based on Mr. Slack's 2010 letter, we can see the following. Estimates of 1,800 accounts, estimated new combined water and sewer base rate revenue, 1,800 times water at $22 plus sewer at $46.40 times 12 equals $1,477,440. Estimated new combined water and sewage revenue if multiple units on a single meter are charged. For a single meter, that is 136 fewer meters, or $1,365,811, a difference of $111,629 per year. required water and sewer combined increase to make billing equitable and support downtown business development, 6 cents per meter. Of course, the preceding are estimates based on limited data and do not take into consideration the added revenue of usage. That is, the required rate increase is probably less than 6 cents per meter. Inequitability. Billing applied to building owners with a single meter serving multiple units can be resolved by asking everyone to pay less than 6 cents per month, or by asking building owners striving to improve the downtown area to pay tens of thousands of dollars each. Until this issue is resolved fairly, the proposed rate hike should not be approved. That was Paul's comments. Chris, Sarah Carter says, what are we wanting to do with water? Chris Kaufman says, higher taxes, give an itemized list of why you need more money, not ask for a blank check. Yes, Paul, I saw your comment. And we're having people ask for background noise to be muted. I didn't see any other questions regarding water.
Well, it sounds to me like Paul's request is more, pertains more to his building in reference to what he's talking about, or the buildings downtown. I think maybe you should explain to the public, Sam, why we have to do the increase because of our bonds.
Sure. We have a bond right now that was taken out to do the new sewer facility back in 2012. At the rate we are actually going with our and our bond with water, at the rate we are going in 7 years, we will not be able to actually pay that bond until we have increased the rates to match what the bond was taken out for. Right now we are $7 per user behind, which if we increase $1 per year, that's going to take us 7 years just to catch up. And that's why we're going after another $1 increase this year. They did a $1 increase last year, and that is starting to head back in the right direction.
And the state also requires us to hold aside X amount of dollars as well, right? For maintenance or upkeep, or in case anything were to go wrong, right?
That is correct.
Okay, are there any other questions in the public meeting? If not, I'll close the public meeting.
There is one more question, and this is directed toward Justin. What will the water rates do to our fire department?
Can you answer that, Sam, or does Justin need to?
I can answer it.
Oh, Haley, okay.
The fire hydrant thing makes it sound like it will have an impact on the fire department, but it won't. The revenue that comes in from the water rates will go to the same place that it did before. It doesn't impact the fire department, or sounds like it would.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Sam?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, counselors, is there anything you'd like to say, or otherwise I'll close the meeting? Okay, I'll close the public meeting now at 7:46 p.m. We'll move on to agenda item number 9, which is resolution 072020, a resolution amending the license permits and procedures book and adopting new water and service rates for the city of Coquille and the new rates for purchasing city water from a fire hydrant and authorizing the rates and fees contained therein.
Okay. and this goes back to what we were just talking about. The budget committee is last year approved $1 increase, and they approved it this year when we did the budget. For customers inside the city limits, water customers outside the city limits will experience a $1.50 increase. The city has held a public hearing regarding the proposed water and sewer rate increases. The water fund needs a rate increase to comply with the loan requirement and to avoid using reserves needed for future plant, equipment, and water line maintenance. The sewer fund needs a rate increase to begin working toward compliance with its loan requirement and to avoid using reserves needed for future plant, equipment, and sewer line maintenance as well. So the fiscal impact would from water would be about $23,000 and sewer income by $19,000.
Counselors, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to pass resolution 07-2020, resolution amending the license permits and procedures book, adopting new water and sewer rates for the city of Coquille and new rates for purchasing city water from a fire hydrant and authorizing the rates and fees contained therein.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who are you? Julie, is that you?
Yes.
Discussion?
We believe that there is an inequitable situation in Coquille. Yes or no? Shall we address that perhaps in the near future? Yes or no? You know, bottom line is he's talking about fairness and what's equitable. And I understand that. And we put this off now since when? 2000 and when, Sam? 2009, 8, whatever.
Long time when we put the new water
Looked at it and looked
sewer in there.
at it. But perhaps we should put a little research into us and come up with this decision regarding, you know, our responsibility here.
Well, Counselor, I think what hurt us in the very beginning is that there was a moratorium that was put on it when we first built the new sewer plant, is the story I heard, but perhaps Counselor Rao can remember. But
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, I thought maybe you might remember. I just heard rumors that there was a moratorium that was put on it, and that's what put us behind.
No, that is not accurate. No,
Okay.
what happened was we got ourselves up to speed, and then what happened was that at the direction of City Manager Marchant, in a quest for more general fund revenue, the council voted to raise franchise fees on the water rates and sewer rates. Now, what they didn't do, though, was raise rates to match that. I think it was a 3.5% increase. If you look at the dollar for dollar amount, we are in the hole with this. And by the way, I voted against that plan. But I was going to say that when they didn't raise the rates, if you do the math on where we are at in the hole, it's almost an exact corollary of that franchise fee increase without raising the revenue accordingly. I've always been opposed to franchise fees on public utilities because really it's taxing people for essential government services. But it happened, and that's where we're at now, and that's why the water and sewer funds are in the financial mess they're in.
Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. Okay, so we have a first and a second. We need to take a vote now. Is there anyone dissenting the motion?
This is Matt Rao. I'm voting no.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay, motion passes. Okay, agenda number 10, interview candidate for council position.
So at our last meeting, we did have some interviews for a new city councilor. Unfortunately, I had put in a wrong email address to invite Shanley for an interview. And so she is deserving of an interview by the council. She was on here a minute ago, but I don't know what happened to her.
Hi.
There you are.
Oh, hi, Shanley.
No, this is not Shanley. This is
Mary.
her mother. Yeah. She understood that her interview was going to be at 7 or 7:10, and she's been called away. She hung in there for about 45 minutes and then she couldn't last any longer. So I don't quite know how to resolve that, but I do feel you would benefit from interviewing her. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mary, for your input. Counselors, do we have any comments? Would you like to proceed to vote with the candidates that we have?
Is Shanley going to be back anytime soon?
I don't think she can. She had made a commitment to care for somebody's children tonight, and so she's actually doing that. And in fact, she was doing that during part of while she was waiting. I don't know if you saw her, but she was running around in the yard. But she's unable to hang in and come back any more. So apologies for the misunderstanding, but the email that she got said 7:10, I think, and she thought she had ample time to do that, and she didn't appreciate she was going to be waiting until much later.
Sam, can you clarify the email that you sent to her, Shanley?
I did, and I did say we had some business to take care of beforehand. And originally, I mean, it was just a guess. I said we wouldn't get to it until at least 7:10 or 7:15, but I really, there really is no way to actually give it a hard number and say, hey, this is when we're getting to item number 10 on our list.
I appreciate that, Sam, and I'm sure Shanley does too. It's just that she was operating based on that information, and she made it a commitment that she's unable to get away from. So.
Okay.
Counselors, what's your preference?
I suggest we put it on the table.
I'm sorry, Hugh, I can't hear you.
I'm suggesting we put it on the table.
Put it on the table for now again?
Yes.
Okay.
For one, I missed the meeting and I missed the discussion. And if I voted tonight, without information, I wouldn't be ready. I mean, my feelings are we should look for someone with experience. My feelings are also, years ago when I ran for city council, I had no experience. So
right.
there's the thing right there. I want to hear the candidates, and I wasn't here to hear the candidates.
So you would be in favor for us to interview all the candidates all over again, since you were unable to attend the last meeting?
Well, in regards to my individual feeling, that would be best for me.
Well,
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. I had a friendly suggestion that may be able to help you and still allow Shanley an interview also. We could get we could have Jennifer maybe send the audio tape of the meeting to Hugh so he can see the questions, and then if you have follow-up questions, Hugh, at the next meeting for the candidates we already interviewed, obviously you could ask those questions there, and then we could get the interview with Shanley. And honestly, I don't see any reason. I mean, this is one of the most important votes we'll ever make, picking somebody to represent the people who hasn't stood for election. And so, it might be reasonable. And if a member of this body wants more time on this, knowing it won't affect one regular meeting, I would support tabling it. But that's where I'm coming from.
So, Counselor, I'm going to add a little to that. I was thinking along the same lines because I would like to have a second interview with some of the people that applied, because, as we've had time to think about the conversations that we originally had, we come up with second and third questions. And so I would like to call all the candidates back for a second interview, which would entitle Shanley to come forward with an interview at that time.
Now, go ahead. Sorry, Kyle has a question here real quick.
Madam Mayor, on all the candidates, are you referring to all 4 of them or 5 now with Shanley? Or are we going down to 3?
Yeah, well, I think John Cooper advised Sam that he no longer could run for
Yeah.
council.
So, yeah, John Cooper came into my office just before this meeting started, and because of some family issues, he is asked to no longer be considered for this open position.
Okay, so
So maybe it might be a good idea to call everybody back and ask a few other questions.
yeah,
I mean, I liked the questions you asked, Kyle. You were amazing.
no, I agree. We should. I think that he should listen to. He should hear them all out.
Okay, so
Now, just for clarification, now who would be the people we're interviewing though? Because I know Mr. Reckenzone withdrew publicly and it was an accepted withdrawal. So now that Cooper's withdrawn, so that would be Maria Haskett, Shanley, and Dave Chappelle.
yeah, I believe so, right, Sam? Those are the only 3?
Yeah, I don't have that list right in front of me, but yeah, that sounds right.
Unless we want to put it out again to see if anyone else would like to be included. We could post the notice again.
Yeah, it's up to you guys as a council.
And it works.
I think Hugh's recommendation or Hugh's idea of tabling it and we can discuss it and let him listen to the tape and then interview the candidates, the remaining candidates again, and then decide what we want to do. I think a little time and reflection isn't going to hurt anybody.
No, and I agree. And like I said, after the last meeting, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask them as well. I think, yeah, so let's just table it. Would that be the consensus of the council? Well, let's refer with our attorney. So James, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Is that okay? Can we go ahead and do that?
Yes, you certainly can. It's your process, and you need to choose one that works for you and you all are comfortable with.
Okay, so do we need to make a motion to table it until next month? And direct Sam to call everyone back for a second interview?
So
That would wrap everything up neatly.
I so move.
Okay. Is there anyone that opposes this motion? Okay, motion passes to table this until next month.
You didn't get Hugh made the motion. I didn't hear a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a second.
I would
Somebody second it?
I'll second it.
Julie.
Julie? Okay, discussion?
Was Shanley involved in the first round? Was she in the mix at that time?
No, we,
Picked up
go on, Sam.
So
Yeah.
I had sent her invite to a wrong email address.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't actually get the invite.
Get the email. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Okay. So all those in favor or anyone opposing? Okay, motion passes to table this until next month. Thank you, counselors. Mary,
Yes,
are you still on board? So will you tell Shanley that we plan to interview her again next month and our city manager will be in touch with her?
I will, for sure.
Thank you, and apologize to her for us, please.
Yeah, no sweat. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, the adoption of the council rules. Gentlemen,
Hey,
May I speak, Madam Mayor?
yes. of course.
So I've looked over these rules and I actually called the city manager and our city attorney to just get some clarification, because at the end of our discussion on our city council rules that we went over now 3 different times and made amendments here and there, we have a new version with probably about 3 new pages of information that council has never even seen on these charters. And now we're trying to adopt these rules. I feel that we should have more discussion over the addition to these rules to get either clarification in a workshop or get to the meaning on some of the things that we have between the ethics addition in the back and the seating and everything. Just there's a couple additions in here that I'd love to talk about and why they appeared suddenly on here, not last time, or the last 3 times we've looked over these charters.
I agree. I did the same thing. I called the city manager, and the corrections that we had asked for at the last meeting had not been made, like making it gender specific. Remember, we wanted to change that.
Right, the they.
That was not done. We didn't reference that our new city council meetings are on the 3rd Monday. There were typographical errors in here that were not corrected. They didn't make any of those changes. And so what I think, I think that we need to have them clean this up at our workshop, take a look at it, or at least send it out to us so we could proofread it, correct it, and send it back to Sam. Because I agree with you. There's like three or four things that I'm not, that they changed, and I don't like the wording in it.
Same as I.
So counselors, what do you think? Do you want to table the rules again?
So, sorry, Madam Mayor, I may speak one more time. So do we want to discuss what the changes are now? Or do we want to save some of that talk for the workshop? Because regardless, I have a feeling we'll probably be in another Zoom meeting, so it's not going to be any easier to discuss this now or later, so. Well,
I took my copy and made corrections, like misspelled words, whether titles, you know, like Mr. or Madam Mayor and the last name, counselors by their last name, typographical errors. Some letters are capitalized, some are not. The gender specifics, just, you know, things like that. I was just going to give Sam my copy of corrections. I think maybe you guys could make some corrections and give them to Sam, and then he could present it at a workshop.
Well, you see, and Madam Mayor, my corrections that I had weren't so much corrections as is the additions of parentheses K, seating and meetings. I know we've had a topic of discussion of, or we've had that come out through my time on council that I'd like to talk about. And we also have the section on ethics and decorum that is new as well, that I'm not very keen on section 23 just because it can be taken by perspective, and I don't think we have authority to on some of this. So there's some of this addition that doesn't seem, it just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, there were a couple of things in here that I caught that I think conflict with our charter. So I was a little concerned about that. I mean, I could be wrong, believe me, but I'm just questioning them, that's all. So councilors, what do you think? We table this for another day?
Mayor, I would also suggest that to make sure that it's all analyzed for those conflicts with the charter, that James review it before it's presented to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was just some things that James had added, but there was one part in particular, well, not to do with the charter, I don't think, but where they referenced something, and I don't have, what did I do? I thought I had it all together here. But anyway, you referenced the same thing 3 times in the council rules. How many times do you want to reference it? So
Madam Mayor, I move we table this agenda item until we can discuss it in more detail at our next workshop.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I was just going to suggest if you or anyone else on the council sees things that you think might be a conflict with the charter or with state law or anything else, feel free to send those to me by email. I thought I had caught all of those, but it's entirely possible that I've missed some. So I'm happy to take a look at it again.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, so I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Okay, so Hugh, you're going to second this, okay? And any dissenting votes? Okay, motion passes to table the city council rules until the next workshop. Well, we'll discuss them in a workshop, but table it till the next meeting. I'm sorry. Okay. Next, so let's go on to the nomination by fee. Oh, wait, did I skip? Okay, we're going to do the real estate at the end. I'm sorry. Okay, nomination by fee, agenda 13.
File by fee. This
by
was
fee.
this was brought up a couple of months ago, I believe in May, that to put on the ballot in November a file by fee amendment. We have directed the city attorney to research and find the appropriate language in adding that charter amendment to the ballot in November. James, can you kind of go over this one?
Sure. You have a memo in your packet, which the first chunk of it is just a wholesale quote of what's currently in the charter, so people could take a look at that. Keep in mind that was written, what is it, the Charter of 1967? Yes, some time ago. Most, in fact, I'd venture to say everything that is in there in terms of the details of how signatures are evaluated and how things are counted, and the timelines and the deadlines and all of that are included in the state election statutes now, which are applicable to cities. Really the only thing that's up to the city on that part that's from the charter is how many signatures you need. And at the moment it's 20 electors. The proposal from Councilor Rao and the motion from council was to come up with language to refer to the ballot for a charter amendment to add a second option so that one could be nominated to run for office, not just by collecting 20 signatures on nominating petitions, but as an entirely separate option by filling out a nomination form and paying a small fee. That way the person who wishes to run doesn't need to go out and collect signatures. In looking at the charter and seeing how to fit that in, it occurred to me that it might be an excellent opportunity to simplify that language from 1967 that's really no longer necessary and in fact is duplicative. And to the extent it does conflict with state law, we can't follow it anyway. And so my proposed language, what the referendum would say, would be to ask the voters to approve an amendment to Section 31 of the City of Coquille Charter to replace the existing Section 31 in its entirety and replace it with the fairly simple language that's there on the second page. Nomination may be made by filing a declaration of candidacy accompanied by a petition containing the signatures of not less than 20 qualified voters, which in substance is what you have right now. Or nomination may be made by filing a declaration of candidacy accompanied by payment of the required fee. The amount of the required fee shall be set by the council by general ordinance. That's typical of the language that other cities that have a file by fee requirement use. And then just a final line there to say forms and procedures related to filing for candidacy shall conform to state law, which is a little superfluous because you have to do that anyway, but it gives some context for why the amended section is so much shorter. So it's your referendum, your choice to refer this to the ballot. If it were up to me, this is the way I would craft it, but it's up to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions or consider other approaches.
James, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, James, I want to thank your hard work on this. I know there might be some disagreement on this issue, and I can understand people can disagree. The reason, and I've supported this amendment for years, but it's especially more prescient now that we're in an era of pandemics. And this, I wish it just could apply before the election, because now that coronavirus is spreading in the Coquille community, you know, I really don't want people having to go out and get signatures and have our staff handle the signatures and the county clerk's people handle the signatures. But sadly, the process and the clock say we have, you know, it won't apply until the next election. But as we see, there's already a looming pandemic coming out of Kazakhstan, and face masks and quarantine and lockdowns are probably going to become more of the norm. I sure hope I'm wrong. But at least a lot of the scientists out there are saying that, and doctors are saying that this masks and these distancing may be a new standard for the foreseeable future. So I think it saves a little bit on staff time for the city recorder. I know the county clerk would be happy not to verify the signatures if they don't have to, but you know, this was presented in the best of spirit. And again, I understand some people may disagree on this, but that's why I introduced it. And I just wanted to thank again James for his efforts on this.
So council, what do you want to do? Last time we discussed it, you still wanted to get signatures. How do you feel about this?
In light of certain circumstances, Madam Mayor, I agree with Councilor Rao that to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and everything else, we shouldn't subject our possible candidates to contact with the citizens of the community. And that's hard for me to say because I really enjoyed going door to door and meeting all the people or talking to people about when I joined. So, yeah.
James, I have a question for you. I realize that this has to go on the ballot, but is there any way that we can put it into effect now so that our candidates do not have to go out and get the signatures for this election?
So that's a question that has been coming up, as you might imagine, around the state. I'm on a listserv with city attorneys, and a couple of people have raised that question for obvious reasons. The current consensus for cities like Coquille that have a specific charter provision is that probably there is not a ready resolution. There is currently actually a lawsuit that has been filed against the Secretary of State's office for a statewide initiative effort whose deadline has passed and who sought additional time, and the Secretary of State's office had denied them. That's been filed in Eugene. We'll see where that goes. But at the moment, there is nothing in any of the emergency declarations from the state, no modifications from the Secretary of State's office allowing that sort of modification. And given that it is in the charter, I think it would be very, very difficult to come up with a case that even a local emergency declaration would have the power to overrule the charter. The charter is essentially the city's constitution. So you kind of have to live with it.
Okay, so councilors, another option we have is that we could table this as well until elections next year or the year after and put it on the ballot at another general election.
Madam Mayor, one thing I would suggest on that is that the November election is the least expensive election for us to do this on because of how many participating taxing districts there are.
Yes, but we could do it the year after next. It doesn't have to be done this November.
But it wouldn't apply to the candidates in the next election though, Madam Mayor.
Well, we might not be in the same situation in 2 years. Maybe the council in 2 years, the council wants to go out and collect signatures.
You still can collect signatures, Madam Mayor. It's still allowed. The problem is the reason we can't have this work now is because, you know, the council, Madam Mayor, please. I was going to say that the reason we can't, you know, make it easier on people now and safer now is because the previous council had that same attitude when I pitched this when I was mayor. And I think we can see now that that was a poor decision. I urge the council, I know we could disagree on this, but I urge you to consider this proposal. And so I will move that we refer this measure to the ballot.
Okay, so that's, so we have a motion then. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, so Kyle, you second. Okay, we've discussion.
In regards to this process, I tend to believe the same way, that in pandemic times, everything changes. And because of that, I would support this item. But I'm concerned in the future when citizens have decided, you know, that we've had enough with government, I'm going to go pay my fee and you'll get our 27 candidates down to City Hall here and, you know, beat on the desk or whatever. But as of right now, I mean, this is the time, I think, to consider this, you know, as a very viable issue to take care of this business without taking it to the community, so to speak. When I ran 3.5 years ago, I went out and got signatures twice because the first time they wouldn't take them. I had signed the wrong date on it. Well, really foolish about doing that, but I got to know 20, 30 more people that way too. I really believe in the process, the democratic process, but in regards to the times that we're in, this makes all kinds of sense to, at this time, we probably could change it later. Is that correct?
Well, you're voting on something that's gonna go in effect 2 years from now. Our next elections in 2 years.
This set by ordinance also?
The amount of the fee would be set by the council at any time by ordinance.
Right.
But the option to file by fee would become part of the charter. And so to take that back out again would require another charter amendment, which would require going back to the voters again.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. I think, well, we're to the vote now. So,
Madam Mayor, more discussion on this with the option for voter fee or for candidate fee. That fee can be, worth going out and getting 20 signatures too. So, we have the power to set that price. So, as a council, if we want to push that, I feel that even regardless if it was just a fee, it's going to encourage more of our community members to possibly, try to fill in one of these council positions. Sorry, these headphones are hard to talk with. And they still have the option to do both. And we still will have a forum and they'll still go to vote to the community. So I feel it's a win-win for all the way around.
Do we have to decide on a fee on this now?
No, in fact, no, and I would say that you can't decide on a fee, or if you tried to, it wouldn't mean anything because at this point the charter still says the old language. So you need to wait and if and when the voters approve this, then it would be time to pass a fee ordinance.
And James, do we know what this is going to cost the voters?
No, I do not. Not my side of things. It's possible Jennifer might have some idea.
Jennifer, do you have an idea on that?
Still with us?
Yes, I am. I spoke with the county on that, and she just told me it all depends on the number of registered voters they have at that time. So it can be anywhere from, I could try to get you some ballpark figures for it.
Madam Mayor, one thing I would point out is 3 members of this council voted to refer a tax to the ballot last November in November 2018. So I would find it an interesting argument to make that there's great concern over the financial impact of the referral from anybody who voted for that referral. But again, that's just my thinking is all. I'm just stating that.
Okay, different time, different council. Let's just think about this. So, all right, so we're to the vote. Do we have dissenting votes?
Yes. Ann Parker votes no.
Kathy Simonetti votes no. Anyone else? Okay, then I believe the motion passes.
Councilors, I will work with Jennifer and we will take this through the right set of procedural hoops and get a ballot title and all that part in line.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Okay, moving on. Agenda number 15. Well, let's see, 14. Agenda number 14, presentation of RFPs for Jefferson School. Sam, do you want to lead us through this with the contractors?
Sure. So in our last meeting, we had discussed sending out an RFP. We've actually been talking about this for a few months. We sent out the RFP, got 2 viable options back. One is from Jarrett Construction, Jared Zierenberg, and the other one is from Brian Shelton. No, sorry, Brian, I've lost your last name anyway, but he's with NeighborWorks Umpqua. The proposals you should have been sent to you. They're both regarding living facilities, or turning the old Jefferson School into apartments and condos. Jarrett Construction is looking at a little higher end condo. We have our floor plan, and I'm actually going to just share my screen because I have them both up on my.
It's Mr. Sheldon. Is he still with us?
Yes.
He was online. Brian, is it?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Okay, okay. Go on, Sam. I'm sorry. I just didn't know if the representatives were still online with us.
Yes, I have them both on here.
Oh, good.
I'm going to share my screen. This is the Jarrett Construction proposal. If everybody can see that.
Right.
We have, and Jared, if you are able to chime in, I would appreciate it so you can kind of go through what your thought is. And I'm not hearing him.
Is he still with us?
His name is still on there.
Okay. Maybe he can't hear us.
I'm going to try and, Jared, I unmuted you if you're able to tell us what's going on with this. Looks like you have some pictures of previous jobs you have done. Other miscellaneous projects, hardscapes. And if I'm scrolling through this too fast, please let me know. Right in this picture right here, we have the layout of the Jefferson School, referring to parking, how we would rework parking in order to get individuals into the building, into their complexes. Again, more pictures of completed projects that he has done, and current projects. His economic benefit is $1.1 million on the entire project, and we'll be creating 12 units of landscaping, club and gym for the owners with ample parking for visitors and guests. And it'll be about a 2 to 3 year project.
And these are condos for sale or apartment, or?
I believe these are for sale.
These units are for sale.
And then this is just one of the floor plans for the units.
Right.
Okay. And Jared, if you get a chance to chime in, I haven't been able to hear you.
Sam, he had some questions that were attached with this.
Yes.
Was anybody able to get back with him and answer those for him?
So it is residential zoning. Yes, and those questions are right here on the next page. It is residential zoning. It does allow condos and apartments. The taxes was $123.06 in 2018. The taxes will be increased after a new valuation of the property is done after completion of the project. So that would go up, yes. It states the listing that the building construction is block and concrete. Are the partition walls sufficient as firewalls? I don't have the answer to that one. I believe so. I believe everything is cinder block in between each of those units. everything that's standing currently. They were built as firewalls, I believe, but we can check into that one. We understand there may be some asbestos in the floor squares. Are there any other locations of hazardous materials on the property or building parameters, including underground? There is a diesel tank that is on the property. I don't believe it is buried. There is one that's on stilts, and there is some mold in one of the rooms. Other than that, I don't see any other hazardous materials. We understand the building and property currently use public water and sewer. Is that true? Yes, that is true. And depending on usage and how many units and people is going to determine whether it has to be upgraded or not. There is currently water and sewer running to each of those buildings. And any adjoining property available to be purchased, we would possibly be interested in that purchase. The city currently does not have any property adjacent to purchase at the moment. And then conditions on water, power, trash, gas, or any other utilities going forward. And we could answer that question when we know more the scope and how many individuals are going to be living there. And then we're going to flip over to NeighborWorks Umpqua, and
Wait, Sam, can I ask you a question before?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in the last presentation last month, he had offered us $90,000 for that property. I don't.
Madam Mayor, you don't want to be disclosing that in a public meeting. I'm not trying to chastise you, but that's confidential information.
Okay.
Be careful.
That is correct.
Be careful.
Well, we had asked about that. Okay.
There is no price actually on this proposal,
Right.
but I believe the agreement that was sent over to us by Pacific Properties, that is also still in effect if we decide to go with this.
Okay, that was my question, if that was still in effect.
Madam Mayor, may I just
Yeah.
interject a couple of things? Can you hear me?
Yes, uh-huh.
Oh, okay, so in just listening to you, Sam, I would just make a couple of comments. We as a city do not want to represent whether or not those block buildings and the structure will meet his needs, because we don't want to pay for them later if we're wrong. My other concern is all of those items that are questions, that should be his due diligence to figure that out and not the city's to represent it. We had asked him for financials. I don't see those in the package.
There are financials on that. I just did not scroll down to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't, well, what I saw is definitely not enough of a financial to do this project. I guess maybe I should clarify that. And then I am avid about wanting deed restrictions, not just signing a blanket contract, but no matter which one of these we choose, we need to make sure we have deed restrictions that set forth some timeframes that they're going to have to meet, no matter which one we choose.
And yes, I agree.
Just a comment. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Sam, moving on.
Moving on to the NeighborWorks Umpqua Hemlock Terrace proposal. Brian, I see you. Are you able to discuss this one?
Yes. Good. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting us discuss a bit more our proposal. Again, so I represent NeighborWorks Umpqua. NeighborWorks Umpqua is a community development corporation. We're a nonprofit organization. We're based in Roseburg, Oregon, but we work in Douglas, Coos, Curry, Jackson, and Josephine counties. Currently in the city of Coquille, we own and manage the Hillside Terrace Apartments up on Shelley Road, and we're actually getting ready to do a pretty significant rehabilitation of that property, probably starting later either later this fall or depending on when some of the federal funding comes in next spring. And then we have another 80 or so units in Coos County. Most of those are in North Bend or Coos Bay. You know, I think we were really excited about the opportunity and the potential that the Jefferson School has for a redevelopment project. And so what we looked at and are proposing is the Hemlock Terrace apartments. It would be, we think, you know, based on our preliminary research and design work, really what we're proposing is to kind of take the south wing of the existing building, do a comprehensive renovation of that wing, convert the classrooms into apartment units, and then reuse the gymnasium space and some of the other upfront office space. Actually, Sam, do you have the plans? Maybe you could pull those up. That would be.
Yep, I'm going to scroll down to them.
Great. You know, I think we really saw an opportunity in the existing front area there, the gymnasium and the office, to add some space or rehab the space. Our design team really really thought the gymnasium was a unique and special space, and so a lot of our planning and design work has kind of focused on how can we reuse, preserve, and renovate that so it can serve maybe a variety of community needs. And then we'd look at demolishing the north wing of classrooms that's there existing and building a new wing of apartment units. So in total, we'd have 32 apartment units. Those would be a mix of studios, 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms, and then the front, kind of the front portion, about 4,000 square feet or so of space that could be used for what we're calling kind of community services. And you know, the programming of that area is not totally set, but you know, we'd like to talk with the various community groups and other nonprofits that work in Coquille and the Coquille Valley to see what kind of needs they have for space. You know, be it the food pantry or other users like that. NeighborWorks Umpqua is launching a network of financial opportunity centers, and this space, if we're successful, we would incorporate that use into this building. We are looking at a senior housing, so the apartments would have an age restriction on them, and we are a affordable housing developer, so these units would have both income and likely rent restrictions on them, so they'd be available to people that meet those restrictions. Generally, that would be kind of below 80% of the area median income, which would be roughly, roughly people making under about $27,000. So seniors on fixed incomes would be, probably the likely target population for residency here. We provide, on-site parking. We'd like to explore with the city a bit of, in order to accommodate the parking, there might be a need for some additional land, additional space on one section. And we'd also like to work with the city to explore developing the rest of that. Sam, don't quite remember if it's a separate parcel or just kind of a dedicated area, but explore working with the city to turn that rest of that site into a park, like a neighborhood scale pocket park.
Yes, the park is part of the park's plan and is in there, and so the city would very much appreciate help in putting that park, actually making that park happen. So.
Yeah. So we'd be, we'd very much like to work with the city on taking that on. Obviously, a park would benefit the seniors that would live at Hemlock Terrace, but it would also be a great neighborhood amenity and community amenity. In terms of our timeline, certainly getting site control would be the necessary first step. Then we'd further our due diligence and pre-development work and our design and planning work, with the idea that we would really like this project to be ready for an affordable housing funding application either later this fall or next spring, when Oregon Housing and Community Services does their main round of funding. If we're able to get the funding in let's say the next 12 months, we'd be looking at about a 2-year development cycle from start to finish, with about a year of active construction. This project for us is kind of based on what we know some of the housing needs and market demands are in the Coquille Valley. We're also informed by the Coos County Housing Action Plan that a group of community stakeholders came together to do and work on a couple of years ago, and we're seeing Hemlock Terrace as kind of a way of putting that action plan into action and actually implementation. So we're very excited about the project. We'd love to do another project in Coquille, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. Shell, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. You go on.
I just wanted to say, now you'll have an on-site manager for these properties?
So yeah, so currently we have an on-site manager at our Hillside Terrace apartments, and that manager would cover both properties.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so I also see on here where you have included a community room. Is that for your tenants, or is that open for other people that perhaps want to rent it out for weddings, or what do you do with those?
Yeah, I think it could be for both. It could be for both.
Okay. Because we need that here in Coquille. We need some
Sure.
additional accommodations. And I didn't see anywhere in here where you put the square footage of these apartments.
So the apartments will range. I don't think it's listed on the breakout of each unit isn't listed there. The studio unit would be about 500 square feet. The 1 bedrooms would be about 700 square feet, and the 2 bedroom would be about 850 square feet.
Okay.
And we really use kind of standards, assuming that there would be Oregon Housing and Community Services funding in here, which is essentially the way all affordable housing in Oregon is produced. They have standards for bedroom sizes that we work with frequently.
Madam Mayor, I had a question.
Yes,
For Brian. One, I really appreciate the thoroughness of this proposal. And I had to smile when I saw it because Linda Short, when I was mayor and she was on the council, always said something like this would be great for Coquille. You know, she knew so many people who had to downsize because the kids were gone or a spouse had passed away, but they wanted to stay in Coquille. But the problem was there wasn't enough available housing for seniors to downsize into.
Sure.
And so I just thought, boy, I hope Linda hears about this and knows, her vision, it looks like, is tenable and may well happen. But my question for you was this. We have 3 community groups, and I don't know if we have any other tenants in there right now. We've got the VFW, the Friends of the Library, and the Bear Cupboard Food Pantry in there. Now, obviously, I have no expectation that you're going to just obviously let them stay in there forever. But knowing that these provided community service, would you be willing to consider letting them stay in there until, not indefinitely, but at least, maybe a few months after the purchase to transition to a new position?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can definitely work with those groups both in a interim position and then I think one of the things we really saw is there's an opportunity again to use that space to after rehab and asbestos removal and a whole lot of work. But to really see, are there, maybe those groups could come back, or how could we, use kind of that space to help support those community-based groups that need some space, but could maybe share some space or collaborate on some space. I say this with all, kind of assuming that at some point, or maybe not, but at some point, kind of the physical distancing restrictions will be either different, or we will have figured out how to adapt to all of that. But yes, I mean, I think we'd be very interested in seeing does the food pantry, does the Bear food pantry want to continue to roll in the space after construction, Friends of the Library, VFW, all those uses would be, for us, we see this project as really helping to support those community uses or others that might need some space.
Now, so you might be, and again, you'll have to work this out with all those groups, but it is possible that they may be able to stay in there until construction.
I think we could discuss that with each group. Yep, and I think we'd be open to that idea.
And I can't recall when you just said, and I'm sorry, I lost it in the lights. When is construction scheduled to begin under this plan?
So if we are successful in getting our financing, say by let's say by a year from now, we'd want to start construction by the end of 2021 or the first part of 2022, and so 2022 would really be the construction year.
Well, I'll just end on this. I appreciate your proposal. Like I said, I hope Linda Short hears about this. And I know a lot of seniors in the community would be very happy to see this proposal happen. And it seems to really fit in with the neighborhood that's being developed in there. I mean, there's some nice housing and development that's already been there. This will improve the aesthetic, and it would help develop that park, which I know Dennis Graham, when I was on council, he's the one who put that into the Parks Master Plan, if I recall, or at least he pushed Director Urban and the Parks and Rec people to consider it. That is a perfect spot for a park, and I'm just excited to see where this could go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Brian, that was 52 units, correct?
32 residential units.
All right, thank you.
So you propose to put $9 million into that building? Is that correct? It says something about $9 million.
Yeah, that's our initial kind of cost estimate. That includes the rehab of the north wing, or excuse me, the south wing, and the tearing down of the north wing and the building of it's about 20 units of new construction, and based on our current construction costs and development costs.
How many people would be building that, do you suppose? Giving jobs to how many people?
So we're estimating, it would probably be based on directly and indirectly, probably about 30 jobs during the construction period. I'd say probably about 2/3 of those would be, direct construction, and the others would be more of that ripple effect and other support functions and support industries.
I appreciate that. You would like the city of Coquille to give the city of Coquille $25,000 for the building, and then
You're discussing prices again.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I did too. Because
Yeah, it's right there. So I looked right at it.
I know, I did the same thing. So
This is a public meeting. I mean, this is a public meeting, or this is a.
well, see, that's what I didn't understand. I was told that we could discuss it because we're going to make a decision on who we want to go with.
All right.
So
I can let James weigh in on this, but we can make a decision of what we want to go with, but any actual price negotiations needs to be done in an executive session.
okay, but you didn't tell us that.
Got it.
At that time, we did put an executive session at the end of this general meeting in case we want to discuss it tonight.
In depth, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so counselors, we need now to decide how to direct our staff.
Madam Mayor, I was curious, is there a staff recommendation on this?
Yes, there is. It says to make a motion based on one of the options above. And the options are reject the offer, direct staff to prepare a counter offer, accept offer and discuss the terms and conditions, including price and sale of the property subject to contingencies.
Madam Mayor, let me clarify. I'm not talking about the recommendation on the action sheet. I'm asking for, no, that's fine. I was going to say, I was going to ask the city manager what his look is, judging on the two from a staff perspective and as a manager, because obviously, you know, this is going to affect you and how you do your job, Sam. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Right. No, I appreciate that. Sorry, I had some other messages coming in from individuals. I'm trying to keep track of everything, every direction. But no, I looking through both of these proposals, honestly, my feeling is the NeighborWorks Umpqua, it gives us more units, and it actually increases the price value of that property many times, and would be more beneficial for the city as far as tax revenue, which is ultimately what our investment in the property is going to be.
Brian, forgive me for asking again, but I can't remember in the proposal, did system development charges come up?
So I think what we would like to explore, and this is certainly something we're open to negotiate. We certainly understand that our proposed project will likely increase perhaps the usage for the site, but there is some already some already there. So we'd like to explore kind of figuring out where that balance is between what can we get credit for, or what could be reused in terms of system development charges, and what would be actual new SDCs.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so counselors, what would we like to do here? I don't hear anybody.
Madam Mayor, I think we have a great opportunity here with this proposal. Obviously, a lot of things can be negotiated and discussed in executive session if we need to have one tonight or at a future date. But I definitely think the NeighborWorks Umpqua proposal has so much potential for our senior community, for expanding our housing supply, which we desperately need to expand,
right,
and getting this building also off the back of the city. So, I see a lot of win-wins here. And I think we should move forward with exploring the NeighborWorks Umpqua option.
I agree on that. So if you want to consider that to be your motion, I would second it. But I would like to have an executive session at like 6 o'clock on another day, opposed to 9 o'clock at night tonight.
I think that's wise, Madam Mayor. And I would also say that, excuse me, I'm sorry. I was going to say that, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll just be perfectly honest. So that's all for me right now. But no, what motion? I was going to ask, what motion, James, do we need to make on this to proceed?
It said I think it would be to direct the staff to prepare. Well, let's see. I think at this point, just to direct the staff to proceed into an executive session where we could discuss price and, like the sewer and water fees and things like that.
If I may.
Oh, go on, James.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I think a motion to authorize staff to continue discussions with NeighborWorks Umpqua to refine their proposal subject to additional input from the council as the process goes along.
Okay.
I so move.
Yes, I was just going to say so moved. Okay, I'll second that motion. Counselors, discussion?
Only in regards to my business with Friends of the Library and my business with food banks. I have only those concerns. I like the idea real well. I think we should pursue it.
So, okay, so do I have any dissenting votes? Okay, Sam, the motion passes, so you'll pick it up from here, right?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I will.
Okay. Brian, thank you so much for hanging in there with us tonight.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you all, and we look forward to working on the project. Thank you.
Well, we're very pleased with your other housing up on Shelley Road. So I'm
Great, thank
looking
you.
forward to this development. I think it's going to be a nice asset to that neighborhood.
Us too. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, folks. Agenda number 16, intergovernmental agreement with ODOT.
All right, so what we have here,
This is Haley's.
oh yeah, sorry. Haley, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, you didn't really. So this is ODOT is doing a project to fix Highway 42, just upgrades between Cedar Point and right there before the produce market in Coquille. Part of that, they have agreed to fix a stormwater drainage issue that we have that is a culvert that runs from about where Safeway is down towards the GP site and drains out there near the GP site. So this intergovernmental agreement that you're looking at is for the work that they have agreed to do while they're in the ground working on 42 to fix our drainage issue. This is an agreement that was established before Sam or I started, but in my opinion is a really great deal for us. We're basically just paying for the materials, and they're going to do it while they're already in the ground. What the agreement is it's just a legal jargon between us and the state as to what we're paying for and what they're paying for. Our price tag is a not to exceed $30,000.
Not to exceed.
Madam Mayor, I had a question. What is the cost difference if we didn't seize this opportunity when ODOT was working on it? What's the cost difference if we wanted to do this on a later date?
Ellie, do you know?
Well, no, I don't know exactly, no, but it would be substantial because we'd be pulling up the pavement on 42.
Are you looking at 3 times the amount of what they could do it for, or just a ballpark?
You know, I really don't know the answer to that question. I do know this, which is that when I originally picked up this paperwork, the problem with that culvert was has been in an emergency situation status for quite some time. So this is something that Dyer Partnership had asked us if we wanted to fix this before ODOT came in. And so we had the project on our maintenance list, and when ODOT came in to do the highway project, I don't know how it happened really, but we got it. It's an opportunity as far as I'm concerned. If you would like to know what the deferred maintenance costs would be, and then additionally what it would cost to tear up the Highway 42, I could figure it out, but I know just that patch of pavement would easily be $20,000.
Well, right. And Haley, I don't want you to go out of your way to find that cost.
No, and I wasn't really prepared for
difference.
these questions either, so sorry if you.
I know that it's been an issue for the city. I've drove by when they've been operating, water's been flooding out right there by Subway,
Right,
and it is a
right.
mess.
At 2 different points that I know of last winter, the water pressure actually got so high it blew the manhole covers off of the sewer. And they ended up welding those shut, which is not the ideal fix either, but that's
I think
how bad it's
twice. Yeah.
Director Sheldon, I was going to say, just again, this is a great opportunity. I was going to say a little bit to Councilor Wirebaugh's question. Culvert repair is immensely expensive, and the cost of a failure is far, even just horrible. I mean, I get the feeling you support the project, so I'm not trying to persuade you necessarily, but this is a great opportunity, and we're lucky it fell into our laps like this.
I definitely agree with you, Councilor Rowe.
Okay, councilors, do I have a motion to have Haley move forward with the county on this?
I move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay,
I'll second it.
that's you, Julie?
Yes.
Okay. Matt first, okay. Any more discussion?
When can ODOT start?
Yeah. Haley, I do have a question. Was this one of the culverts that we were out of compliance with for the city? I know the state had come down on us on several issues.
Was it ODOT in particular?
No, it wasn't ODOT. It was the state. Yeah. I forget. It was a long time ago, and I know we've been battling back and forth about some of our drains for out of compliance.
Well, that's a big question. It's a really big question. There's a stormwater we've talked about master plans in the past and our need for updating those. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm pushing the issue off, but that is another master plan question. There's lots of people who care about culverts. Mm-hmm. Probably ODOT's one of the main ones in Coquille. But we have lots of culvert repairs that we need to do, and we need to sort of prioritize all of them, from the ones that are inside the city to the ones that are out on shared property that we share, county, state, etc. We have one culvert on 4th Street that there are just many issues that happen with them, and they're all very unique. We have one that a beaver is plugging up, for example.
Yeah, that's one on 4th Street. Yeah, that poor guy.
So it's just like, it's a big question, very big question.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. So we'll just move on with the vote. Do I have any dissenting votes? Okay. Motion passes then. So Haley, do your magic.
Will do.
And I think the question was asked when they're going to start construction. They're actually already starting, I believe, in the next 2 weeks. As they work this direction, we'll make sure it fills in.
Okay, agenda number 17, resolution 08-2020, a resolution extending the city of Coquille's workman's compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Coquille.
So if I understand this one correctly, this is a requirement from CIS. Every year we have to revisit this one and just say, yes, we want our workers' compensation to cover any of our volunteers while they are working. And it takes resolution to say, yes, we want them to be covered. If they're actually doing a job for us, we have to provide them with some kind of insurance if they get injured.
Do we have volunteers now, Sam?
Yeah, we have some volunteers with the fire department. We have some volunteers with the, library. Yeah.
Okay. so it's worth it. Okay.
I move to pass resolution 082020, a resolution extending the city of Coquille workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Coquille.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any dissenting votes? Motion passes. Okay, Sam, you're set on that. Public participation. I'm not quite sure how we do this, but Sam, do we have anyone that has anything they would like to say?
Randy wants to know if there needs to be a public hearing to declare Jefferson School excess property, to sell it. That actually, Brandy, that already took place. That's why we were able to get the RFPs, I believe.
If I can clarify, if I can address that.
Yeah.
There will need to be a fine, once an agreement is reached for the actual sale of the property to NeighborWorks or whoever it may wind up being, there will have to be yet another public hearing approving that sale, but that's going to happen at the very end.
Paul wants to know, Paul Reckenzone has this, I'm sorry, is everybody okay with that explanation from James? All right. Paul Reckenzone says 3 comments with as much turnover as happened in the council next January, it may be prudent for the council to hold off on filling the vacant seat until the newly elected members are seated. Wanted to know why Dave Chappelle was on the Zoom call. I had sent him a Zoom invite because he was one of the candidates for the council seat, and he had that in case he was needed to answer any questions.
Mary was for some.
But after that section, I actually kicked both Dave and Mary and Chantel off. This is, yeah, all right. Hold on, somebody added one here. How do we have projects planned for the parks when we haven't had a parks committee meeting? Parks, if I understand, if it's the question regarding the park by Jefferson School, that's been on there for years. It's a Parks Commission from years ago. Hope Grundy wants a call from Haley or Sam tomorrow. Yeah, give me a call, or Haley a call tomorrow, Hope. And then Brandy. Brandy just says, thank you, because this is why we didn't sell it at an earlier offer. Okay, that referring to the Jefferson School. Those are all the comments that came in during the public comment period.
Okay. Councilors, is there anything else for the good of the order? James, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Nothing more for me tonight. Thank you.
All right, then I thank everyone for coming, and I'll close this city council meeting now at 9:05 p.m. Thank you, councilors. It was a great meeting.